Washaba. Oh my gosh, this is great. We have some great stories.
All right, I think we are live on Facebook now.
Hello, Facebook. Hey, tonight we are celebrating the 245th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. We're doing it 8 days early. Can't do it on November 10th, and can't do it on November 9th. So we're doing it tonight. And we have some illustrious Marines with us in the waiting room that we'll be letting in a couple minutes. And we have illustrious guests here, right? We have Jean Klebing-Gott. He's a World War II veteran. We have Julia Parsons here, World War II veteran. We have Mary Frances Polarsky. She's with the VA healthcare system, Pittsburgh. And we are getting ready to go. Let's see, how is Jean's audio? Let's take a look here.
Looks like it's not connected.
I think you need to click. Jean, can you hear me? Nod your head if you could hear me. I don't think you could hear me. Maybe I should send him a note. Could I give him your phone number, Ellie? Should I?
Yeah, yes.
What do you think? Well,
I'll be doing a lot of screen sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let's see.
That's it. Hold on.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to put Jean back in the waiting room. Oh, Dan Tullup, this is great. We have a great group of Marines joining us. This is fun from all eras and ages. This will be good. This will be good. Hope it doesn't get too rowdy.
They're Marines.
I know, really.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we find our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
What is this music?
What do you mean?
What is this? Where is our theme music?
Well,
why are you playing that?
Dan Vaughn paid me $20 to play the Marine Corps hymn instead of the theme song.
Dan, you paid her $20 to play the Marine Corps?
No, 25. She cheated. $5.
Oh, right. I forgot.
Let me show a picture of Dan Vaughn here. And if you don't know, we are commemorating, we are celebrating the 245th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. And this is a picture of Dan Vaughn. And I think some of you might not know what USMC stands for. And Dan here is wearing a shirt that explains it. Uncle Sam's Misguided Children. That is the official name of the United States Marine Corps. Isn't that right, Dan?
Yeah, not quite.
And Air Force.
That shirt was given to me by a guy in our group up in Butler. He's in the Air Force, and he was just jagging me. That's all.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us on this Monday night, November 2nd. I know that we're celebrating the United States Marine Corps birthday 8 days early. We originally were going to do it next week on the 9th, the eve of the Marine Corps birthday, but we're ending up doing an event with University of Pittsburgh at Greensburg that night. We're going to do a collaborative event for Veterans Day for our happy hour a week from tonight. So we thought we would celebrate the Marine Corps birthday 8 days early, and then maybe even carry it on next week. There's enough Marines. I could see just on the screen, we have enough Marines from all eras to carry us through, I think, at least 2 sessions. Very illustrious group. I'm absolutely thrilled that I've been looking forward to this evening. And I want to show you, so this is the Marine Corps birthday that we're celebrating. And of course, why am I showing a picture of this building? Anybody?
Tun's Tavern.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Tun Tavern. What is the significance of Tun Tavern?
That's where the Marine Corps, birth of the Marine Corps was. Philadelphia, PA. Tun's Tavern, 1770.
It does tell you a little bit about the Marine Corps that it was founded in a bar.
Peg Mullen's Beef and Steakhouse.
That's right. You're right. You are. Who's that, James? Let me see. I've got to look at my screen again. Is that you, James?
It is.
Yeah. That's right. It went under another name later. And what was the name again?
Peg Mullen's Beef and Steakhouse, if I remember right.
Something like that. Yeah. Peg Mullen's Beef and Steakhouse it became. Sadly, that site is now under I-95, but it was right in the heart of Philadelphia, and it was an important building. It was an important building. I'm sorry. I'm going to laugh a lot tonight. Somebody once told me that Marines are the funniest people in the world, and I absolutely believe it, having worked with veterans for 12 years. And I laughed at myself because I knew about Tun Tavern and the founding of the Marine Corps, but it was only later that I realized that Tun Tavern was actually also the site of like the meeting of the First Continental Congress. And I mean, it's like nobody mentions that, everybody mentions the Marine Corps, this recruiting job on November 10th, 1775 to recruit the first 100 Marines. So that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight. And I look forward to getting those stories. We do want to make a few announcements before we get there. One of them is about a wonderful program that I listened to today called The Scuttlebutt, and it's episode 9. It was just released today, and it was focused on the Navy. Oh, yes. Oh, here's some pictures of Marine Corps birthday cakes being cut. We could talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to kind of promote The Scuttlebutt, which I think is a wonderful podcast that is produced and written and directed and hosted by our very own director of programming, Sean Hall. Sean, this episode was focused on the Navy. Did you learn a lot about the Navy today?
I did. 2 great guests, Kim Mitchell and IT1 Ricky. He's a recruiter here in Pittsburgh. Becky Nyron joined us as well as my co-host for this episode. I can't believe it's been 9 episodes, almost 2.5 months of The Scuttlebutt so far, but we are on episode 2 of our 6-part series focusing on the different branches. This was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I learned what a Jacob's ladder is and talked a little bit about how one scared me to death when I was little. And I hope that you guys are able to tune into it on YouTube or check us out on the website. Make sure you like it, share it, subscribe if you can. It helps us go a long way. And next week, we'll be diving into the Marines. So this is a primer for that. James will be joining us. Josh Cannon, he's joining us tonight. Haya Eason joining us tonight as well. Will be joining us on that particular episode of The Scuttlebutt. Yeah, boy, it's been a lot of fun, Todd.
Totally a lot of fun. The idea of these programs, of these episodes, is that we want people who served in the Navy today to say kind of what's the best part of the Navy and maybe the worst part of the Navy. And they both agreed that the worst part of the Navy was kind of being stuck on a small ship in close proximity to a lot of people for, many, many days on end. And I just thought that was wonderful and fascinating. I loved that how vociferously they defended the Navy rate. The Navy doesn't use MOS like every other branch of service. They talk about rates, and they said like how simple it is. You hear somebody's rate, you know exactly their job, but you never know what anybody does I wasn't buying that for a second, but I love how they understand that, the Navy rate system. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful episode. Please do tune in to The Scuttlebutt. Wonderful job. I also want to announce that we are doing a virtual Veterans Day this year, just like we did with Memorial Day. This will be in conjunction with Veterans Leadership Program and Duquesne University and Shepherd's Heart, Friends of Da Nang, kind of like what we do every year at Duquesne University. But it will be virtual this year. Our very own Lamont Gordine, 25-year Navy veteran, graduate of the Naval Academy, Navy aviator, will be our keynote speaker. The theme will be E Pluribus Unum, out of many one. And the program will start virtually on Zoom only, apparently, at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, November 11th. And I'll be talking a little bit on the program, and there'll be many other speakers and participants. I think the neat thing about this year is how we're doing it is we're going to have, it'll probably be like a 1 hour, ceremony with a speaker and some song. And then we're doing a 1 hour storytelling session with 3 World War II veterans. Julia Parsons will be one of those veterans, I'm very happy to say. She'll be joining us here. Navy Wave, World War II. We'll be having a conversation with 3 World War II veterans, kind of like we always did the storytelling sessions at Duquesne on November 11th on Veterans Day. We're doing it virtually this year. So please do join us. You do have to register for it. virtualveteransdaypgh.org. That's right, Ellie? Is that the correct address?
That is correct.
And that's where people go to register for the virtual Veterans Day breakfast, virtualveteransdaypgh.org. If Sean or Ellie could put it maybe on the Zoom side and on the Facebook side to get people involved, it'll be a wonderful event. Also, I heard from the Vice Commander of the Pittsburgh VFW 29, Chris Brown, a Marine, who let me know yesterday, he gave me a call yesterday to let me know that they got approval to do a Veterans Day parade from the city of Pittsburgh. The only catch is vehicles only. No marching in the parade. Has to be vehicles only. Chris was so funny, and I talked to him last year, and last year was the 100th Veterans Day parade, Pittsburgh Veterans Day parade. I believe that's the longest unbroken streak in the nation. In other words, Pittsburgh had its first Veterans Day parade in 1919, and they've had one every year since. They didn't want to break it, so they got permission to do a vehicles only. If you want to drive a vehicle in the parade, you'll be staging at 10 a.m. at 16th and Liberty. There will be an Air Force from 9/11th Airlift Wing, a C-17 flyover. So please do participate if you'd like. And if you want to contact Chris Brown at the Pittsburgh VFW, let me know if you have questions about it. I also want to encourage you, if you haven't checked out our Sunday afternoon program, Sundays at 4 p.m., we do a special program called Greatest Generation Live. And this is just like our happy hour, except we're only focused on World War II stories and World War II veterans. And on Sunday, if you haven't checked us out yet, you may want to check us out this upcoming Sunday of November 8th, because we're having a special guest named Ray Caskey, who happens to be a Pittsburgher. He happens also to be a graduate of what was called Carnegie Tech, just like Julia Parsons. And but we're having him on because he was the principal artist behind the National World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C. He contributed a lot of elements. He wasn't the major architect, but he was the artist. He contributed a lot of the detail elements that give, I think, that memorial its special power. And if you've ever visited our World War II Memorial in Washington, D.C., you may have been taken, as I have been, with the 24 panels that appear there. They're bas-relief bronze panels. And they're large panels that depict 24 scenes in the European theater, in the Pacific theater, and on the home front during World War II. They're just beautifully done. They kind of magically recreate these moments in time during World War II, like this one I'm showing on my screen right now, which is one of the first, if not the first in the series. It's a family getting together and listening to the news about the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941. And each one of these bas-relief panels, there's a little story behind how he conceived it, who the models were for it, how he developed the panels and what he wanted to achieve with the panel. So we're going to have him on to talk about these panels. And here are 2 other panels. One is coming off an amphibious landing in the Pacific. Another is the Russians and Americans meeting at the Elbe River at the end of the war in Europe. There are stories behind these panels. So we're going to have Ray Caskey on to talk about this wonderful art that he created. We're also going to continue our conversation with D-Day veteran, Utah Beach D-Day veteran, Warren Goss. We got started with him yesterday, and there's just so much to his story that we asked him to come back on Sunday to continue. So he'll be there for that. And then I also want to let you know that I'm very proud of this. I've been trying to get this for a while. We have for Greatest Generation Live for Sunday, November 22nd, the great Gail Halverson is going to join us. And if you don't know his name, he was a transport pilot in World War II, but he became internationally famous during the Berlin airlift of 1948 and 1949. And you might remember the Berlin airlift, or you might remember reading about it. It was really the first great showdown of the Cold War. The city of West Berlin was entirely surrounded by Soviet forces, and Stalin cut off all land and sea transportation, land and water transportation, and rail transportation to the city, effectively blockading the city so that no food or fuel or medicine could get in, nobody could get out. And Harry S. Truman decided to start an airlift to save the city, to deliver all the food and fuel and medicine that would be needed for a city to survive. And the airlift started in June 1948, and it continued for almost 1 year. At the peak, planes were landing every minute, one a minute, flying 500 feet apart, landing one a minute, round the clock, 24 hours, 7 days a week, delivering on average 4,500 tons of food per day. 4,500 tons per day to keep the city alive. It was an absolutely just enormous experience. And Gail Halverson was one of those pilots of the Berlin airlift. And what made him famous is that he met with some children, saw how skinny and scared and cold they were on the ground at Tempelhof Airport in Berlin. He had 2 sticks of gum that he gave to the kids, to a gaggle of kids outside the fence. The kids divided up the gum very evenly. They split it among themselves, and he realized, like, these kids are starving. And so he went back for his next trip over. He threw out candy with little parachutes, and kids just, flocked to him, of course. He told the kids, "You'll know my plane, I'll wiggle my wings." And so he was called Uncle Wiggle Wings, the candy bomber, the chocolate bomber. And he was called in by Lieutenant General William Tunney, who was the commander of the entire airlift operation. And Gail Halverson thought he was going to be chewed out for throwing this candy out the window. And in fact, he was being congratulated for it because it was such a wonderful international PR, public relations coup for the US during the Cold War. Gail Halverson just turned 100 on October 12th. He's hale and hearty, and he's going to join us from Utah on Sunday, November 22nd. It'll be, I'm delighted. He's grounded because he's usually, goes around the world still giving talks. Here he is with President Angela Merkel of Germany. But he's grounded because of COVID-19. So he's going to be joining us. And I'm just super excited about that. So please do consider joining us if you can on Sunday, November 22nd with Gail Halverson. I'm very thrilled about that. And then finally, we have one more announcement, don't we, Ellie? And this is big. I think it's really big.
We do.
This is the VBC has finally gone viral on social media. We started a TikTok account, and if some of you probably have heard of TikTok. If you're anything like me, you've heard of it, have no idea how it works. If you're anything like me, you've also opened an account and then immediately got confused and shut it down. I've spent enough time now on TikTok to know that if you spend more than 5 minutes on TikTok, your brain literally starts to warp and brain cells start to die. So I would not spend too much time on TikTok. However, we are posting some content on TikTok, and Ellie, it went viral.
It did. We got, I think we're at 700,000 views right now, and 108,000 people have liked it. So a lot of people have heard Ray's incredible story that we're going to play just now.
So this is Ray
In the
Emilio.
Navy, your underwear is white. And I got my orders to go to Vietnam, and they said, you need to have your underwear tinted green, because if you have white underwear, you become a target, just like a cigarette. So I told my mother, you need to tint my underwear. So I went down and I looked, and it was stacked up in the laundry room, and my underwear was the color of lime jello. I got to Vietnam, and the airplane came in, came down, he dropped the tail, I ran off. All of a sudden, all hell broke loose. Well, I dropped my bag, and all the green underwear flew out, went down the runway. The battalion aid station came out to greet me, and they said, "Hey, Doc, what's that stuff that was flying down the runway?" I said, "Don't even ask." And so for the rest of the year, I had no underwear to wear. In the Navy,
So that's it. That viral, that 1 minute story, that 1 minute video went viral on TikTok. And we have all these people now who are following us, and we're trying to figure out what else to feed them. And they're also watching other videos of some of our other veterans sharing stories. So if you want to check it out, Ellie, could you put I imagine you probably already have done so, put the link here in the chat. If people want to check it out, you can sign up for TikTok if you'd like. Give it a like.
Don't rot your brain though.
I don't recommend TikTok. Oh my gosh, you've got to be 20 or younger to understand how that is work. How that's supposed to work. But all right, so that is VBC gone viral. I would before we get
real
to,
quick,
yeah.
Todd, I just wanted to make sure that we should also give a shout out to Carlton Harley, who is joining us tonight, who is a master at TikTok viralness. His videos tend to pull in tons of views and likes. So we wanted to thank you for joining us again tonight.
Yes, Carlton, has your brain rotted on TikTok?
I didn't have much of a brain to start with. So.
And I know that's how you have to reach your recruiter. That's how you reach the young people, is definitely on TikTok. But man, it is not. It's made for the young. It's fast moving, and I don't quite understand everything on there. And I feel very old when I look at it.
So I think that's actually something in your favor because it's different. So if you're not the same as other young people who are dancing or shaking their what their mom gave them, I think it resonates to a crowd. That's the only reason I can give why I'm popular. Because I don't know what's going on sometimes.
Yeah, you have great TikToks. You really, I think they're wonderful because they're substantial. There's real substance to them, and but they're also fun and entertaining. So thank you, Carlton, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We also have Mary Frances Polarsky joining us, and Mary Frances is the coordinator of the VA Pittsburgh Health Care for Homeless Veterans Program. And Mary Frances, you and I have talked about the work you do and how you, like everybody else, is grounded because of COVID-19. You usually do a major event around this time of year, correct?
Right.
But you can't do it.
Yes.
Can I ask you first, why don't you talk about the programs that you offer?
Okay. With the Healthcare for Homeless Veterans Program, we have a few major elements: outreach into the community, very involved out there with Allegheny County Continuum of Care, other committees, the boot camp, the coordinated entry committees with Allegheny County DHS and others. We do a lot of outreach out in the community to get the word out so that veterans know that our programs exist and that providers know as well. Also, we have housing programs, case management in housing. We're a multidisciplinary team, so there's a lot of us doing the job, and it's a great team. It really is. And with the housing, we have transitional housing, and we also have permanent housing. With the transitional housing, you may have already heard of Veterans Place of Washington Boulevard, Shepherd's Heart, Veterans Leadership Program with the Bridge Housing Program, Scattered Site Apartments, Tomorrow's Hope, Meckling Shakely 268 Veterans Center, Coriopolis, Supportive Housing with the American Legion. Those are all some of our programs that we offer with transitional housing and its case management. So that our veterans, trying to get our veterans back into independent living, permanent housing, and just doing the best they can because they deserve it. Also, we have permanent housing under HUD-VASH vouchers, And that is very successful. It's for homeless veterans and their families. And we have over 400 vouchers out there, veterans living in apartments and living in communities where they choose to live. And then we also have the Veterans Justice Outreach Program, which is part of us. And that includes veterans courts, magistrate courts, reentry from incarceration. And, you know, right now the VJO team is working to get a legal clinic out of VA Pittsburgh. So hopefully down the road, that's going to be coming. So normally each year around anywhere from August on, we have an annual challenge where we invite our veterans, community providers, VA providers, and we all get together, we share information. Our veterans share their stories. We thank our community providers because we're so grateful to work with them in partnering with being able to help veterans. So that's just a little bit about our program.
Mary Frances, can I ask you, during this difficult year, 2020, have you noticed a change in the veterans homeless population?
Well, we've seen changes, as all of us have seen with COVID, that's for sure. And so, you know, we've put in, we follow VA guidelines and CDC guidelines with the screening and testing and things necessary to keep our veterans healthy, for sure. We're seeing, again, you know, we talked before about the CARES Act has helped a lot of our homeless veterans this year with hotel stays, because if they could stay into a hotel for up to 45 days and sometimes a little longer, while we are all working together to try to get them into permanent housing. Right. So, and again, we work with our community providers as well. We all work together. We all work, you know, we also have the SSVF programs that are offered under Veterans Leadership Program and Soldier On. So we all work together to help our veterans.
And, you know, this is the first time I'm meeting you here virtually. I've never met you face to face, and yet I seem to be the only person probably working in the veterans community here in Western Pennsylvania who hasn't met you. Everybody knows who you are. And I ran across this photo of you on Facebook not too long ago. This is you with Alejandro Villanueva. So I actually don't know how short you really are or whether he's just enormous. But what I love about this photo is that is a comment that Randy Levander made on Facebook. And, you know, Randy is one of our local veterans here in Pittsburgh. He said, I hope that Mary Frances was kind enough to give Alejandro her autograph because she is a superstar. And I thought, yes, that is so true, that the veterans community here is so lucky to have you in their corner, Mary Frances. Thank you so much for the work you do on behalf of veterans in the VA. And thank you for coming on our program. And I just want to, if people want to help or if they have questions about, you know, veterans homeless community, is there a way they could contact you to, you know, to give you a hand in the work that you do?
Oh, gosh, yes. Just give me a call, 412-822-1272. And also, because we didn't have Challenge Live this year in person, we're also going to be sending out a challenge newsletter with all the information on our programs with contact numbers. Okay. So I'll definitely get that out to you and you can share it with everyone. And I just want to thank you for this privilege of being here this evening, and thank you to all the veterans who've served their country. It's my privilege to serve you, believe me. It always has been. And I'm so excited. It's 37 years with the VA this month. And I'm just very excited, very privileged to serve veterans. So thank you for what all of you have done.
How terrific. So you must have started when you were like 10 years old. So that is great that you've been working that long. And Ellie has put on the Zoom side, Mary Frances' contact information, at least your phone number. If you want to add to that, Mary Frances, with an email, and we could also put it on the Facebook Live side if you'd like.
Sure.
Thank you. And if you want to hang out and listen to some great veteran stories, please do feel free.
Thank you very much.
All right, now we're getting to the Marine Corps portion of our program. Where do we even begin? Where do we begin? I see just such wonderful stories. And well, let's begin with this. I would like, you don't just join the Marine Corps without knowing what you're getting into. It is the Marine Corps is different from the other branches in so many ways. It's by far the youngest branch. It's by far the most heavily male branch of service. And it's also the one branch, if you call somebody a former Marine, man, you cannot, no, there's no such thing as a former Marine. There are things as former soldiers and former sailors, but former Marines, it is a lifelong commitment. It's different. It has a different ethic, than I think the other branches of service. And I'm just curious to hear the stories about why people would choose that branch of service. And I wonder who wants to start us out about why.
Because it's the greatest thing ever. That's why. It's great. Look at all the smiles in the room. You see that? Look at all that. I'm talking about greatness here. I'm sorry.
James, did you even consider another branch of service?
I did it first. All jokes aside, I did it first. It was going to be the Army at first. And like we've talked about before when it comes to veterans and what, when you're coming in, you don't know what you don't know. And my cousin served in in Desert Storm, Desert Shield. And he got wind of the contract that I signed, which was an open contract. And he's like, you're smarter than that. And I'm like, define what you mean. He's like, well, if you go open contract infantry, you're a bullet sponge. You're better than that. And I was like, okay, so the recruiter couldn't find me magically. I don't know how. And I walked up to the Marine recruiter that I had been talking to, and he looked at me and said, you still want to go? I was like, how soon can I leave? And I was gone 3 days later and loving every second of it ever afterwards.
You really did. Did you actually, even looking back, you liked boot camp?
It wasn't any different from what I had at home. My mom had a standard. My dad had a standard. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. My grandmother was an old school teacher from Mississippi and Texas, before segregation, the elimination of segregation. So there was standards in our house.
Yep.
And so to go into the Marine Corps and go make your bed, got it. Keep everything neat and clean, sold. Like it was do what I tell when I tell you to do it the first time. Right. Got it. Sold. But not hard.
How great. We have Jessica King with us. I see that she joined us. Thank you, Jessica, for coming on. The Marine Corps is the most heavily male branch of service. I think today there are maybe 8% of the Marine Corps is female, maybe 8%. It's overwhelmingly male. Not that many women want to join the Marines. You did?
I did, that is correct. So back when I joined in 1998, that's like 20 years ago. I know some of you guys are laughing, but to me that's a long time. So when I went to the recruiter's office, I was like, I want to go. They told me about the boot camp, where if I went through that boot camp, I didn't have to go through any other branches of boot camp, because if I changed my mind later in life, I didn't have to go through boot camp again. So that's why I joined the Marine Corps. So I went to the Marine Corps first, and then if I choose to go to another branch, because I was very undecisive with my time, I didn't have to go through boot camp again. So that saved me right there.
And did you like boot camp?
Boot camp is fun. I mean, I don't know what people say, but it's all a mental game. If you're strong in the mindset, then the physical part was the easy part. So you have to be strong-minded. But a funny story, when I got back from Iraq, they sent me out to recruit females because the Marine Corps needed females right after the war. So they sent me out. And when I talked to the female and I didn't think they could join the Marine Corps for the right reasons, I sent them to the other branches. So I was the best recruiter for the other branches of service. So it kind of not worked out in their favor.
You would say you don't want the Marines, you want something.
You don't make it.
Didn't you tell me that your father said, you'll never make it, you'll wash out?
That's correct. I was a small kid. I didn't follow rules very good. I was the middle child, so you know that I was very rebellious. So yeah, my dad never thought I'd make it, but he was right there when I graduated, and he was so proud.
He was right there when you graduated.
He was, yeah.
You proved him wrong.
I did, yes.
Oh.
And he was a steel worker. He worked at the steel mill, so he had the sticker like, "My daughter can kick your son's ass" on his car. So.
Oh, great. Jessica, and I do when I'm inviting all Marines simply to chime in whenever they'd like to share a story. Okay, Gus. Here we go, Gus. How are you?
Todd, I'm fine. And yourself?
I'm doing well. I've been looking forward. It's like I just knew we would laugh a lot tonight because we're getting a bunch of Marines together.
You know, Todd, I had no idea about the Marine Corps. I mean, I graduated from high school June 7th, something like that. June 10th or 11th, I was getting on a bus on West Liberty Avenue, and I was going to go downtown and get a deferment so I could attend community college, which I really had no big intentions of going to college. I really had no idea which way I was going. And it just happened to be that the first recruiting station I passed was the Marine Corps recruiting station. So I got off the bus and I walked one block back, walked into the Marine Corps recruiter, and just signed up. He didn't try to push me in it. I just said I want to join the Marine Corps. Had no idea what the Marine Corps was, except for John Wayne movies. So I just enlisted. In January or June 27th, I was zooming off to boot camp, and did not know what the hell I was getting into, but I made it.
Did your parents, did you have the kind of parents who said, "What the heck did you do?"
My dad didn't say nothing much. My dad was an immigrant. He was from Greece. My mother was going spastic. I mean, she was calling this Marine Corps recruiter, telling him, "You can't take him. He's not old enough," which I was. Then she started beating on me, and it was funny because my dad used to watch studio wrestling in the old days, and there was a referee called Izzy Modell. When he would break up the fights, he would always go open hand to the wrestlers like Bruno Sammartino. So my mother was beating on me, and my dad goes, Vicky, open hand. And she beat on me with everything she had.
So good training for boot camp, though, right?
Yes,
good preparation.
Yes. And then, like I said, after she got over it, I mean, actually, there's nothing she could do. I was already 18, and I signed all the papers.
Oh, man. I see that we have Jack Watson here, who I believe is probably our oldest Marine with us tonight. Jack, I will ask you, what made you want to join the Marine Corps? And I'll ask you to unmute if you can. Let's wait till we get Jack unmuted here. And just chime in, Jack, whenever you click unmute and you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear why in the world you would join the Marine Corps. Anybody else have a story about why Dan Tulip. Hey, Dan, how are you? It's good to see you. I haven't seen you for like 8 months. If you could click unmute, Dan, then we could hear you.
While we're waiting, Tom, this is Bill Jeffcoat.
Hey, Bill, good to see you.
Hey, first of all, I have to do a shout out to Jess King from Marine Corps League 827. Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Hey, Jack, hold on. Let's talk to Jeff, and then we'll go to Jack. And I want to share a picture of Jeff so that we know what we're talking about. What made you want to join the Marine Corps, Jeff?
Well, dog man.
Yeah.
As a senior in high school, I had a number of scholarships to play basketball. And when I graduated from Bishop Boyle High School, I went down to San Juan, Puerto Rico to play some AAU basketball down there. And when I came back, they said, did you make a determination as to where you were going to go to school? And one of my buddies came up to me, John O'Toole, and he said that he was going to join the Marines and would I like to come in on the buddy system with him. And at that point in time, this is 1966, the Vietnam War, middle child once again. Not that I was a juvenile delinquent, but I got into enough scrapes, and just to show you how independent I was, when I graduated 8th grade, my grandmother wanted me to attend a Lithuanian nationality school up in Kennebunkport, Maine. So my parents took me down to the Greyhound bus station in Pittsburgh, put me on a bus, and I went from Pittsburgh to Philly, from Philly to New York, New York to Boston, and Boston to Kennebunkport, Maine. And as going to be a freshman in high school, being by yourself, traveling all that distance, St. Anthony's College Prep up in Kennebunkport, Maine, we had 57 boys in the whole school. My freshman class was 6 freshman boys. So it was a very elite school, 3 languages your freshman year. To be traveling all that way as a 9th grader, I had no problems with it. So I joined the Marines. My father was in the military, Eagle Scout. I love my country, love it. And I went down with 110 recruits from Pittsburgh. We were the original Pittsburgh Pirate platoon. We went to a Pirate game, was honored. After the game, we got on buses and headed down to the Yellow Footprints. So to this day, it's the greatest fraternity going. And I tell everybody that, I wouldn't change it, not for the world. My best friend in Vietnam, a fellow dog handler, his name is Jack Woodard. He's a Baptist minister in Jackson, Mississippi. And God works in mysterious ways because we were legends in Vietnam. When new dog handlers would come in country, our commanding officer would say, stay away from Jeffcoat and Woodard because all they want to do is raise hell and get you in trouble. So, and to this day, there's not a week that doesn't go by that we're not on the phone or texting. He is the silent uncle to my kids, the crazy one that's never seen. So, semper fi till I die. I mean, I'm proud to be a Marine, and I was a dog handler. My final duty station in the Marine Corps was the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina, where I was a drill instructor. And to this day, I know that there's many recruits that I made cry. So
some of them may be here. Some of them may be with us tonight, Jeff. Bill. I always call you Jeff. Bill, And let's take note of that, Ellie and Sean, that Bill Jeffcoat was a drill instructor, because we want to do a program on drill instructors. They're a special breed. Thank you so much.
And I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
It says you can meet celebrities, you can meet the president, you can run into an old childhood friend, you can spend time, an entire lifetime, meeting new and interesting people. You can love and give your all to your family. But remember this, there are few greater joys than getting back together with an old Marine Corps buddy.
It's beautiful, Bill. Thank you.
I second that.
Jack Watson, I think you have the title of the elder statesman of the Marines here with us tonight. You're 95 years old?
96.
96 years old.
Yeah.
Served on Iwo Jima in World War II. What made you want to join the Marine Corps?
Probably.
I really don't know. I remember I had a football coach that had spent time in the Marine Corps, but he never talked to me about that. I just admired him as a guy, Steve Vucic. And I never saw him after that. But I suppose the admiration I had for Steve as a coach fed off, and when it was time to make a decision, I decided without even hesitation that I wanted to join the Marine Corps. And I was a student. I was a senior. I graduated in June, and in September, I went to Penn State with the idea I was going to enroll for 4 years. Well, that lasted 2 months. And then I finally decided I did not want to be in Penn State. I wanted to be in the Marine Corps. So I came to Pittsburgh and enlisted in the Marine Corps. And never did regret it.
You never regretted it?
No, not one minute. Not 1 minute. I had some times that I would rather trade off, but in general, and was that Bill that was on just before me?
Yes.
Bill said, there's nothing like having a reunion with a Marine buddy. And I can attest to that. My buddy on Iwo Jima, for instance, was a guy by the name of Rodney Watt. And we were friends because alphabetically we were very close. And no matter what our jobs were. So, what's that say? Oh, you're putting pictures up. Yeah. I looked at that picture on the left there, and I thought, what's that bump on my left side? I never figured out. The guy with me is a guy named N.J. Burris. And N.J. would beat the crap out of me in handball every time we played. And this is probably after one of those games. But this was after we came back from Iwo Jima. We were back on Maui, traded with the 4th Division. And we were trading to invade Japan. And
can I ask you,
we
Jack?
didn't like that, but we did. They didn't ask us what we wanted to do.
Can I ask you, looking at this picture on the left, there you are on the right, I assume that's your boot camp picture, boot camp graduation photo?
Well, you know what that is? Yeah, that was kind of, I got out of boot camp and we went to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. And I went into Oceanside, I think was the name of the little town. And there was a photo studio there that you could go in, and that was not an issued uniform. You had to buy, if you wanted dress blues, you had to buy them, unless you were going to be seagoing. And seagoing Marines always got their dress blues given to them. But anyhow, I was in Oceanside, California, and saw this studio. And I thought, I'll go in and have my picture taken. I haven't had a picture taken. So I go in, and they have this uniform, which is one size fits all. The back was split, so they just drape it around the front of you, pull it tight. The same was true of the hat. That was no back on that hat or on that cap. And that was my Marine Corps picture. And I sent that one to my sister and one to an aunt. And they survived all these years. I don't know how.
Isn't that great? Jack, I just now remember that you told me, I believe when you were at Penn State, you listened to the radio before you went to bed. And when there was the sign off, they would play the Marine Corps hymn. And maybe that.
Yeah, that was when I was in high school.
Okay.
And we slept I went to St. Vincent Prep up in Latrobe, and we slept in dormitories, and unheated dormitories. So you want to know a reason to go to sleep is so you won't freeze to death. But we were in these dorms, and when I was a senior, there was one room off to the side that they said 5 seniors can have that room. So we selected 5 of us that wanted to stay together, and we went in that one room. Well, a guy by the name of Vince Sardi never joined the Marine Corps, but he was maybe that's the guy that got me interested in the Marine Corps, come to think of it, Vince Sardi, because he loved the Marine Corps hymn. And every night there was a station, I think in Indianapolis or someplace, that signed off their evening program at 11 o'clock with the Marine Corps hymn. And we all would listen to the Marine Corps hymn. I made sure everybody stayed awake until they heard the Marine Corps hymn. So maybe that's where it all started. I don't know.
Jack, the picture on the left, you said that that's after Iwo Jima and before the proposed invasion of Japan that you were training for.
Yeah.
If anybody here hasn't seen or heard Jack talk about his Iwo Jima experience, you have to know it was as bad as, any experience I've ever heard of, for sure. It's traumatic. And I do encourage you, if you can, to watch an interview with Jack Watson about his Marine Corps career and specifically what combat on Iwo Jima was like. Jack, I'm looking at that picture. What was your state of mind? Can you recall 75 years ago kind of what you were thinking here? What?
Well,
75 years ago.
He has a good memory.
Yeah, at that point, we were pretty well, we all knew that we were being trained for the invasion of Japan. The 4th Division was to be the lead landing, and we knew that. Unlike Iwo Jima, where we didn't have any idea where we were going, they told us we were going to be the lead landing party in Japan. So that's what we were training for. And it was difficult because it made sense that if we were the lead landing force, not one of us was going to survive that. So you're kind of training to die. And I never experienced that. I trained as a Marine to protect myself, to take the enemy down, but I never gave it much thought as that I was preparing to die. And that's why when they dropped that bomb and the war was over, there was nobody happier than the 4th Division, because we knew that we had been saved. And the 4th Division, before I joined it, had been on Roy de Moore and Saipan and Tinian, and then Iwo Jima. So they had been used to combat. the 4th Division had, but they didn't like it.
And Jack, this is Bill. You weren't with the 4th Division when they hit Saipan just before Iwo?
No, I was not with them when they did Saipan and Tinian. I joined, their losses at Saipan and Tinian were very high, and they lost a lot of guys. And they needed replacements for those who had been wounded or killed. So I was in a replacement platoon with the 4th Division, and the idea was we were training with them, but we were not to be any part of the landing on Iwo Jima. We went on maneuvers with the 4th Division. We participated as our own unit, as a replacement unit, but we were never supposed to be in combat. And we were told that. That's why it was so easy going to Iwo Jima, because we had been told that Iwo Jima would take 3 days. And our chance, I was in the 24th Regiment, and the 24th Regiment was in reserve on Iwo Jima. So I was in reserve for a reserve unit. So my hopes were that I would never see combat at all. Well, that didn't work out that way. The fatalities were so high at Iwo Jima that the first day they told us, well, what they did was they said the 24th Regiment has been called into the battle. If the 24th Division is going, you as replacements are probably going with them. So we knew we were going in the second day. And it was difficult. It was difficult not knowing what you were going to face. I was on Iwo from the 19th of February until the 17th of March. And I never knew what unit I was fighting with, because I was always a replacement. And they needed leaders, and unfortunately I was a pretty good leader. And the command was alerted to this, and they said, we want you to come up and lead a squad of people. Well, they didn't ask me, they told me, because they never ask you for your opinion. So I have probably a Lieutenant Luker, who was my immediate superior, to thank for my involvement in Iwo Jima, because he was the one that told the command post that if you're looking for leaders, I know one. So that's how I ended up in combat on Iwo Jima.
Well, Jack, I was lucky enough to meet a gentleman, 4th Marines. I have befriended him probably about 5 years ago. He was a Marine Corps sniper. He's 94. He still carries his sniper card with him. And he was at Saipan with the 4th Marines. And he told me about, I think they called it Purple Heart Ridge. It was Mount Tubiachi, and how horrendous the first couple days were in Saipan. And once they took over, the next thing he was being shipped to Iwo, and he told me about coming in on the LSTs, on the landing crafts, and how many of the Marines never made it when they hit the beach. And to this day, I call him old Corps, hardcore, one badass Marine.
I'm showing a picture that a boy named Charlie, who is originally from Minnesota, lived in Great Britain, sent to Jack a couple years ago after watching Jack's interview that we did with him with the Veterans Breakfast Club on the internet. And he did this wonderful picture. It's of Jack there on the right on Iwo Jima, a Japanese soldier there on the left. He's depicting a scene that Jack describes in the interview. And I won't have Jack tell the whole story. You really should go watch the interview, or maybe we'll have Jack come back and talk about it another time. It's not an easy story to tell. But I want to point out Jack's nose. I think that's my favorite part of this drawing. Jack, on Iwo Jima, you escaped Iwo Jima with just a broken nose, right?
That was my only injury on that whole battle. I've been beside people who were killed. I've been beside people who were hit in the head, in the shoulder, in the face. But I never had any wounds except a broken nose, and I got that one time in hand-to-hand combat. I ended up with a broken nose that I didn't even know about until I ran into a corpsman who was a friend of mine, and he saw me a couple of days later, and he said, "What the hell happened to you?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Your nose." He said, "It's all on the joint." So he stood on the beach at Iwo Jima, and that corpsman put my nose back in shape. He just took his hands to my nose and twisted it. And I told him, I called him a son of a bee, not really that, but close to that. And I said, "You ever do that to me again, we're going to be friends for life." That's going to be it. His name was England. He was a corpsman. And you want to talk about a great group, that would be the corpsmen, because they did fantastic work, unarmed. Any corpsman did not carry a weapon at all. They carried Band-Aids, they carried sulfa drugs. And somebody asked me the other day about sulfa. Why did everybody pour sulfa on wounds? I said, because that's what we were told in boot camp. Every Marine carried a packet of sulfa. And when you saw somebody wounded, you dosed them with sulfa. And that was supposed to stop infection, I guess. I don't know. But it did work. And I used a lot of sulfa on Iwo Jima because I was with a lot of guys who were severely hurt.
Boy, oh boy. Oh, Jack, thank you so much for sharing your story. Leo West has a question. Leo. Yep, you're unmuted.
Okay. Jack, I went to St. Vincent Prep and to the college, and my roommate in college was Vic Sardi.
Oh, yes.
And
Vic and I went to high school together.
Oh. And,
he was at St. Vincent Prep with me.
Right. And
where did you know him from?
I went from the prep and the college. Well, not the prep, but the college. I went to the prep, and I know the room you're talking about, right off the locker room.
Yes.
And Vic was my roommate in college at St. Vincent.
I know that name well.
Amazing. Small world. I want to say hi to Henry Shopke for joining us again, 13-year-old from Madison, Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us, Henry. He has a wonderful autograph collection. He was with us yesterday afternoon on our Greatest Generation Live program, shared some of the stories of the autographs that he's collected. He has over 100 World War II veterans, including Jimmy Carter and George Shultz, former Secretary of State, and has kind of stories behind these veterans. And he joins our events just to hear these stories. We're so grateful for you, Henry, to join. You bring the median age of our group way down. We like that a lot. That's a lot of fun. It's really wonderful to have you. Thank you. Dan Tellup, if you could unmute yourself, I'd love to show a picture of you. Hello, Lieutenant. Good to see you tonight.
Todd, it's good to be here. How many do we have participating?
Well, it looks like we have about I'd say 40 on the Zoom side, and then a larger number on the Facebook side. People are watching on Facebook and YouTube Live.
Wonderful.
I'm going to show your picture and ask you why you joined the Marine Corps.
I'm so impressed with Jack Watson. I got to get to know Jack Watson. I got to watch his Iwo Jima.
Yes, you do.
Now, who's that guy there?
It's some young guy named Lieutenant Tellup.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. What inspired you to join the Marine Corps?
Well, I've been thinking about how I would answer this question, Todd, because the others have done such a great job. You know, I'm a very shy person and a little bit reserved, you know, being a Marine, right? When I was in college, Todd, I wanted to become an officer, and I did want to serve my country, and I did want to go to Vietnam. I mean, those were part of my goals and ambitions. And the Army, the Navy really didn't have a program where you could get a commission while you were still in school. And so the platoon leaders class of the Marine Corps, my sophomore year, I spent 8 weeks in lovely downtown Quantico, Virginia, went back when I was my junior year and spent another 8 lovely weeks in Quantico, Virginia. And then when I graduated in Detroit, I was commissioned second lieutenant, and immediately then went to Quantico again to learn how to be an officer and a gentleman. And I'm still having problems with being the gentleman, but that's the end of the story. So it was really the program that they had available was an exceptional program.
Well, you wanted to go to Vietnam, and they certainly accommodated you.
They did.
Was it anything like you expected it would be?
Well, I would love to have Jack Watson answer that question for me on Iwo Jima, because I had no understanding of what physical combat would be like, Todd. Not even a clue. I really didn't have any clues. Yes, we were trained. Yes, we knew what to do in what situations, but to lead men in combat, didn't really have a clue of what that really would look like. And so I was prepared, but couldn't anticipate. And I've told my story many times about my first 4 days. Can I tell that story?
Please, please.
When I flew in from into Dong Ha, I had left San Francisco and my parents in Detroit, maybe 3 or 4 days earlier. So I'm kissing my mom goodbye in Detroit. 4 days later, I get off a plane in Dong Ha, get assigned to 1st Battalion, 9th Marines, a rifle company as a platoon commander. And it just turned out that the 324th Division basically destroyed a Marine Corps rifle company called Bravo 19. And literally within less than 24 hours, my platoon and my company were engaged with the 324th Division in the DMZ. And my job was to help rescue Bravo and the remains of Alpha Company that were just cut to pieces. And we had to evacuate 85 dead Marines, dead bodies. And I'll never forget that day. It's as fresh in my mind today as I've ever seen it. I can still picture exactly piles of casualties and dead Marines. And my anger was almost uncontrollable in terms of what I wanted to do to punish the enemy. So that was my welcome to Vietnam.
That was your welcome, and you had another 12 months, 13 months?
Had another 12 months and 3 weeks. Yeah.
How do you come home from something like that and become a civilian again, but also kind of like talk to your family, talk to friends, relate to what you've done and seen?
Well, I had a family that loved me. I had friends that loved me, and I never really had to be in a situation, Todd, where people were angry with me because of the war in 70. I got out I was there in 67. I got out in 68 because I extended 6 months. But I didn't have to go through what most of the people had to go through of the, I would say, people that not only didn't like us, they hated what we were doing in Vietnam. So I didn't see that side, that ugly side.
And that helped.
This is my mortar platoon.
Oh boy, Dan. Oh boy, I feel we're getting such a history lesson here, and we're just scratching the surface as we always do in our events. Hiya, Eason. Thank you so much, Dan. And I want to come back to all of you. Hiya, Eason. Are you still with us today? I know that you tonight. I'm looking.
Todd, could I say one thing?
Yeah, please do.
I want to connect with Jack Watson. Jack, I want to meet you. I want to buy you a cup of coffee or a beer and just say hello and shake your hand and sit at your feet and listen to your stories.
I would be delighted.
I'll put you in contact with Jack.
Todd. Okay.
Absolutely. Oh my
This
gosh.
is the highlight of my night, hearing his story. I mean, an Iwo Jima veteran.
And he just scratched the surface of it, Dan. I mean, it's quite a story. Oh boy. This is just so fascinating to me. I think Hiya may have left. So, there you are. How you doing, Hiya? Good to see you.
I'm well, thank you.
I would love to hear your perspective. I saw that you put in the chat that you really did not know what you were getting into when you joined the Marine Corps.
Not at all. Looking back, and I had seen a few, I want to say military comedy shows or skits, but I didn't know anything about the military period, and I certainly didn't know anything about the Marine Corps. I hadn't even seen anyone at the airport in uniform. I hadn't seen anyone, get a send off, have a return celebration. I hadn't been to a graveside ceremony of a veteran who had passed away. Just clueless, truly clueless about any branch, in particular, the Marine Corps. There's a couple of comedy shows that I can recall. I don't know if I saw those before or after. I don't know when MASH started. And because it was more mature comedy, I didn't get it. I think Goldie Hawn did like Private Benjamin. There were a couple of things that just, nothing. However, after I left the Marine Corps, I saw a show called China Beach. And for some reason, China Beach just really, it was for me, it was probably the MASH for other people. But when I saw China Beach, the humor was just gone. And it was just the serious side of, oh my goodness, people have left home and may or may not return. So that was the serious point for me. I have said, and will continue to say, that had I done my research, I probably would have joined the Air Force or the Navy, because I understood that those branches were kinder to women.
Yes. And, but I will ask you, are you glad you did it?
I am. For me, it was a great bridge to civilian life. I was an athlete in high school, so the physical training didn't bother me. My mother was a public school teacher, and she yelled at us like a drill instructor, so that didn't bother me. My dad, who was an infantry officer in the Korean War, was a man of few words. but he had a steely look about him, where you didn't want the discipline to have to come from his side. So I didn't, you know, I wasn't afraid of what was ahead, because honestly, I had no idea what was ahead. I knew how to follow instructions. I knew how to wrestle and fight. I had 3 older brothers. I don't think there was anything that made me afraid. So I didn't say, "Oh my goodness, I've enlisted in the Marine Corps." There was nothing that told me that. Nothing. Even boot camp, even getting off the bus at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they won't let you go to sleep because they're getting ready to get up at 5:30. So you sit for an hour and a half. Nothing was difficult for me until I actually, you know, finished boot camp and finished admin school, and then had to begin to serve.
You know, one of the joys of being on this program tonight is watching on gallery view here on the Zoom side, all the heads nodding as you're talking, Haya. All the Marines are nodding along with, and it's
where did she serve, Todd?
Where did you serve, Haya?
Primarily at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, but I also was at Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort. I went to mainland Japan, Okinawa, Japan, did temporary duty in Virginia, Arizona, and Korea.
How long was she in?
9 years.
9 years.
Oh, okay.
9 years. Jessica King mentioned before her father. I believe, Jessica, this is you. Is this with your father after graduation from boot camp?
That is with my dad. Yeah. Look at his face. He's so proud.
Yes, he is.
Maybe he's just glad to get rid of you.
Oh, no.
That was terrible, Todd.
I love it. I know. I pushed it too far. I'm sorry about that.
Did you notice I made it?
You made Dennis? It. Yes. And
remember,
you do it.
I had a hard time finding you, but I was able to get on.
Thank you, Denny.
Can I jump in and tell you why I joined?
Please, go ahead.
I went to join the Air Force because I wasn't doing too good in public school. So my dad was telling me that if I went in the military, I might be able to learn something. You know, so I went in and I was supposed to be a helicopter repairman. I was going in the Air Force. Everything was good until they checked my grades and found out that I didn't have a full 10 years of high school in. I was 1/10 of a grade away from that, and then I could have went in the Air Force. So the next choice was I had a brother-in-law who was in the Marine Corps. So he told me all about boot camp. He told me how they'll send you out to get a squeegee sharpener. They'll send you down to get a JWEP. That's going to go to TREE. I knew all that stuff. And he said, keep your mouth shut, get through boot camp. I'm in boot camp and we're going along real good. And I get sometime in October, I went in September 15th. I forget the exact date in October. They called me up and the chaplain talked to me and told me my dad suffered a stroke and died that morning. So I went home for 2 weeks leave. So when I went back to boot camp, my platoon 170 had already advanced 2 weeks in training. So I had to go back to platoon 179. 3 new brand drill instructors. My last name was Thompson. There was a staff sergeant upstairs by the name of Thompson. My DI had me come to the hatch, and I reported the DI hatch. You guys know what I'm talking about. And he said, "Do you know what this is?" And he held up, and I never saw a military ID card. I didn't know. He said, "Look at it. What's that say on there?" And it was Sergeant Thompson, Master Sergeant Thompson, or something like that. He said, "You know who that is? That's your brother." I said, "No, I don't have a brother." "I just told you that's your brother." That started about a week to 2 weeks of harassment of me because I had a brother by the name of Thompson. And when we had come to the PT training and stuff, that big wall that you had to go up, I'd had trouble getting over that because I was a little heavy in the bottom. And so he would come over and he said, "You're not a Thompson. Let me show you what a Thompson does." Up over the wall he went. Well, I finally got over the wall. You had to qualify. But he come to me one day near the chow hall and he said, "I'm going to tell you one more time. I'm going to ask you. And if you tell me you're my brother, when I ask you, I'm going to take you and stuff you in that GI can." That's where everybody's emptying their trays after chow. All the slop was going in and everything. I'm going to stuff you in there head first if you tell me you're my brother. He said, am I your brother? And I looked over his shoulder. I saw my DI like this. So I said, yes, sir, you're my brother. And down in the garbage can I went. The GI, head first. Wow! I mean, I had junk all over me. And he put my cover on me crooked. Said, get out of my sight, you maggot. Well, I go out on the parade deck or outside the chow hall, fall in line like you're supposed to. My drill instructor come out and took my cover off, was dusting it off with his hand, put it back on me square, dusting the slop off my shoulders. He said, okay, Thompson, you'd made it. From now on, if I ask you again, you have no brother. It went to the point where I even had to punch him one day up in the chest. The guys told me, they said, man, you almost knocked him over. When he talked to me later, I said, what are you talking about, knocked him over? And he said, well, here comes the captain. Private Thompson, get over here. And this captain's down, he said, they tell me that you hit Sergeant Thompson in the solar plexus. Is that true? I said, I don't know. He said, what do you mean you don't know? I don't know what the solar plexus are, sir. He said, did you hit him in the tummy? Oh, yeah, I did that. He told me to. Get out of my sight, maggot. But what I found out later, he was getting harassed by some of the other drill instructors because one day they found me hiding behind a tree right on the parade deck doing a 3-mile run. I was sucking down wind, so I got over by this tree. And I'm hugging up to the tree. As I'm moving around the tree, I bumped into something, and there stood another drill instructor. Where's your platoon, maggot? Right there, sir. So I went over, I got beat up, kicked around, punched around, slapped around. But when I went to boot camp, they still did that. I don't know if they still do that today. Any of you younger people out there go to boot camp lately? When I went, you did something wrong, man.
Yeah.
I stood hops and they're punch you in the stomach.
Yeah, it was hands-on. It was hands-on when you were in boot camp. Henry Shopke, 13 years old from Madison, Wisconsin. If you want to join the Marine Corps after this, you have been warned. All right. listen to these stories.
But
by my
tell you
count,
what, Todd, if I had to do it again, I'd do it again.
There you go.
Because they taught me discipline. They taught me how to, everything has a place and everything in its place. I've been married 54 years. Sometimes I drive my little wife crazy, but we have a nice new home. We got a nice home and everything in its place has a place. Sometimes it gets hectic, but the Marines taught me discipline.
By my count, we have eight Marines left on this program who haven't spoken yet. I know we're not going to get to all of them. I'm so sorry that we're not going to get to all of them. I would love to carry this over next week. John Barber, you're here with us. Josh Cannon, you're here. Jack Morrow. We have Bob Harbula. We have Brad Washabaugh. We have Tom Hastings. Boy, oh boy, just what an illustrious group. Hey, John Barber, let's unmute you here. How you doing, John? It's great to see you. Thanks for, oh, sorry, I muted you again. Can you unmute yourself again, please?
There we go.
Thank you for joining us, John.
Sure.
I appreciate this.
Yeah.
Now, is this one of those trick dress blues that doesn't have a back and a hat that doesn't have a back? Like
no, that's the real thing. That's the real thing.
And this is your boot camp graduation photo, right?
You're correct. Yes. Yeah.
What inspired you to join the Marines and not another branch of service?
Well, my brother was in the Marine Corps, so that kind of inspired me to join the Marine Corps with him. So he told me all about boot camp, so I was ready for boot camp.
And you know, I believe, if again you're like Jack Watson, if you've ever heard John Barber's story, and I do encourage you to read it. It's on our website, Veterans Breakfast Club website, a whole memoir of his Vietnam experience. You know, you experienced the worst combat you could experience, and oh
yeah, and
yet I'll ask you, you don't regret joining the Marines, do you?
Oh, definitely not. Oh no, that was the best thing I ever did.
Can you explain to somebody like me how you could possibly say, Jack Watson will say that too, but you hear his story and it's so hard. And it's hard for me to understand, and maybe people like me to understand why you don't regret it.
I think it's the camaraderie. Other Marines that you meet. You're just like, it seems like you're all related, with the Marine Corps, and it's just the camaraderie and the Semper Fi and all that.
When was this picture taken, and where are you?
I think that was in Da Nang, getting ready to go on an operation. That was in '66.
And behind you, is that a shower?
Yes, that's the 55-gallon water. Yeah, that's a shower we had set up.
Okay. And I guess I'll ask, like what I asked Dan Tullup about, was combat what you expected it would be?
Well, I had a lot of training. I had a lot of training in Okinawa, guerrilla warfare training. So we were ready, but you never did expect what you expected to see and to do. But we were ready. I was trained very well. You
were well trained.
Yeah. That's a Hotel 25. I can't remember where that was at. It could have been in Contien, maybe, or near away. But there's a story that when I came back to the States, I was stationed at headquarters of Marine Corps at Henderson Hall. And I guess I was back for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and they put me in this office taking pictures of officers so they could go to the Pentagon. And Henderson Hall was right across the street in our barracks. And to get a Liberty Pass, you had to go to these classes. And one of our classes was how to throw a grenade. And my buddy and I said, we don't, we could teach this class. We don't need this class, So we decided, it was about 4 o'clock in the evening, and we didn't have a Liberty Pass, but we decided to go anyway. So we jumped over the fence and we went to DC, Georgetown. We got drunk, came back about 4 o'clock in the morning, and we could have walked back through the gate and tell the MPs that we lost our Liberty Pass, but we decided to jump back over the fence. And when we jumped back over the fence, the MPs were there waiting for us. So they picked us up and they took us to the Provost Marshal's office. It was about maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. They put us in this little cell. We had to wait there for about 2 or 3 hours till they, I think the Provost Marshal's was a Major Cooper. He went and got our service records. So we went to his office and we're standing there at attention. And these 2 MPs are there with us. And he's looking through our service record. And as he's looking through our service record, I kind of noticed who he was. This Major Cooper was one of my platoon commanders in Vietnam in 1966. I don't think he recognized me, but I recognized him. And he's seen how many operations we were on and what we did in Vietnam and what unit we were in. And he says, I'm going to throw the book at you. So he picked up a book and they threw it at us. And he says, you guys are suspended. You have to stay in your barracks for 1 day, and you could only go to the chow hall and the NCO club. And that was it. He told us to get the hell out of there. But the MPs, their jaws just dropped to the floor. They thought they had us, But he let us go. He realized what we went through. So he said, don't ever do that again, and get the hell out of my office. So we left.
And this is a picture of John is in this picture of the far right with the spoon in his pocket.
Yeah.
This is a picture taken before you went on a patrol in Vietnam.
Yeah, that was in Contien. Yeah, that was a Sunday. Yeah, that's called the praying picture. That was in Life magazine, I think October 1966.
Oh boy.
I just wonder about these guys, how many guys are left or how many guys are alive, you know.
Boy, oh boy, the history that we're hearing tonight. Man, and I love the comments here. Jess King once again says, it's the values and family you build and nothing like it. My husband was a Marine, retired Army, but doesn't own one Army shirt, only Marine attire. That is great. Yeah. You know, I'll always ask Jessica, Navy Corpsman, you know, with the Veterans Breakfast Club, we used to have name badges with branches of service. Do you want me to put Navy or Marines? And they always say Marines. They always say Marines. Yeah.
You
Josh,
know,
Josh Cannon, I'm going to have you. Oh, I'm sorry, John. Did I
No,
interrupt
go
you?
ahead.
What were you
No,
going to
I was
say?
just going to say you know, God bless the corpsmen. They did unbelievable job. You know, they would crawl under fire and just they did amazing. They're just amazing people.
Oh,
and they even though they were in the Navy, they're Marines.
I see Brad Washball gave a big thumbs up. Dan Vaughn, one of the joys again is seeing all of you smile and nod. Josh Cannon.
Hi.
Josh, how are you? Thank you for joining us. You're
always excited to do so.
You are you're an intellectual among the Marines. Why in the world would you join the Marine Corps?
Well, before I get started, I want to thank everybody out there for making me feel so young tonight. And to answer your question, I decided to join the Marine Corps when I was 15 years old. And I guess I didn't know that I knew that I liked reading and I knew that I enjoyed school, but I don't think I necessarily knew how much. And I went on a vacation with a buddy, and his older brother brought a friend, and that guy that joined the family had just gotten out of boot camp and had all these crazy stories to tell and talking about all this training he was going to do. And I already knew I wanted to join the military, but I didn't know much more than that. So talking to him and hearing about it, that really convinced me. And so, yeah, by the time I was 15 years old, I'd already decided. And then I signed the contract when summer after my junior year of high school. So when I was 17, and then I did this thing called the delayed entry program, which I don't know how new that is, but basically if you sign your contract early, up to a year early, then they'll take that year off of your 8-year contract. And then you actually go to boot camp. Between when you sign and when you go to boot camp, they take that time off of your 8-year contract. So I got a year taken off. And then I left for boot camp 3 weeks after I graduated high school when I was 18. And when I went to the recruiter, this is back when I was 16 and 17 talking to them, I said, I kind of want to be a mechanic because I figured, you know, if I wanted this grand adventure in the Marine Corps, and I figured I could get some really useful skills, and if they taught me to be a mechanic, I could always fix my own car, and I'd save money for the rest of my life by being able to fix my own car. That's just the way I thought about it. And the recruiter's like, well, that's fine. We can find lots of mechanic-like jobs for you. Why don't you take this practice deal, or what was it? I forget the name of the, basically SAT for the military, not the D-Lab. No, that's the another one.
Yeah, ASVAB.
ASVAB, yeah, thank you very much. The Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. And I scored, I think I got a perfect on it. He said I was in the 99th percentile, and I guess it's impossible to be in the 100th percentile. So he said, I'm not going to let you be a mechanic if you're getting a perfect on the ASVAB. And I said, well, okay, what's the smartest thing you have in the Marine Corps? And he said, the smartest thing I ever heard of was the linguistics program out in Monterey, California. And I said, all right, I'll do that. And that was it. It was that easy.
And I should let people know that you're a PhD in archaeology. One thing that I guess that made you a good fit for the Marines initially at first was that you love to play in the dirt. You love to dig in the dirt.
Yeah.
And you continued to find a career that involves digging in the dirt with archaeology. Here you are digging.
Yeah. So that picture there, that's southern Iraq. And I laugh at this picture because, I mean, who knows what's going on there? There could be an ancient city at my feet. There's so many archaeological sites in Iraq that I actually shudder to think that we were just digging holes in there, because if you know, if I were to go through that soil right now and I found like 4,000-year-old pieces of pottery, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I would almost expect to find that now. So, but there I am, 20 years old.
James,
could you go back one picture?
Yeah.
So the story behind this picture is, so the invasion of Iraq. So this is late March of 2003. So we're still invading Iraq. And the invasion moved at a snail's, you know, the momentum towards Baghdad moved at a snail's pace. And I said to my buddies, like, I wonder if I can wear every piece of gear at once. And so I've got my K-bar knife. That's actually not a K-bar knife. That's a different type of knife. But I got a knife. I got my night vision goggles. I got my gas mask. I got the bayonet attached to the M16. Just try to wear everything at one time, and then of course the toilet paper there at the end of the bayonet.
Who were you with again?
So this is with so I was with 2nd Radio Battalion out of Camp Lejeune, but right here I'm with 3rd Battalion 1st Marines infantry unit. I was attached to them.
But were they with artillery? Because that's a radar generator sitting there. Like that was one of our was your convoy attached, because those convoys were long.
So
like
we
4 miles long.
Yeah, so we were there when the artillery was bombing or attack. I don't know what you call it, firing on Nasiriyah.
Okay, so y'all were coming up.
Yeah, I think we were playing Leapfrog. I know we were playing Leapfrog with LAR and 1st Recon.
Yep.
And I don't remember playing Leapfrog with artillery, but artillery was there. I remember seeing them multiple times.
Because that radar truck, that radar generator that shouldn't be there, we needed it in Nasiriyah, and so that's why I was trying to figure out. When you said March, I was like, man, that was right after we flooded that generator, and we needed it, so we had to call back to the rear for gear to fix some of the sensors program stuff we had. And when you showed up, you were the only people with toilet paper. We didn't have toilet paper for a month. Wow, we were like at month 1, no shower, no toilet paper, and y'all showed up and was like, hey, here's a generator, and we were like, hey, you wouldn't happen to have, toilet paper. Just the simple things,
This picture's got a lot going on for you then.
It does. That's why I had to go back. I was looking at it like, wait a minute. I'm sorry.
We're gonna come back to this story on Scuttlebutt because you both are in Scuttlebutt this coming Friday.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
This is so wonderful. And my apologies. I want to point out a few people here and invite them specifically to come back and share their stories, because I know that they're so engaging. John Barber, who spoke briefly, Bill Silver, you need to come on this program and talk about your work in the Combined Action Program with the Marine Corps, the Marine Corps CAP program that Bill Jeffcoat was also in. Yes.
I have to come back and tell you the stories that I met Chesty Puller.
Yes. You met Chesty Puller. That's right. Twice. Tom Hastings, Brad Washabaugh. We didn't even get to you. Tim Stites was here with us, I know, for a while. Bob Harbula, Chosin Reservoir, landing at Incheon, Korea. I mean, it does not get more illustrious than this. We need to get you all back and do a part 2, and we're going to schedule that. Unfortunately, I think next week is probably scheduled. We're working on something, as I said, with Pitt Greensburg to do a program with them and, on Zoom. We don't quite have all the details of that settled yet, but we should soon. If anything with that would fall through, I think we'd need to do a part 2 on the eve of the Marine Corps birthday next week. But we're going to keep on scheduling this stuff. Thank you so much, you men and women of the United States Marine Corps, for joining us tonight to celebrate the 245th birthday. Oh my gosh, the stories we heard. I appreciate it. I hope you'll join us Wednesday morning. We have our virtual breakfast the day after Election Day on November 4th. I would love to continue some of this conversation that we had here. So 9 a.m., same Zoom address here, Wednesday, November 4th. I hope you can make it. Thanks to everyone. Thanks, everyone. All right.
Okay, Todd, thanks.
Have a good night.